All right, thanks for joining us here on Prospects Nation TV. I'm Marcus Burnett, joined by J.L. Hemingway. We get ready to bring you the Carolina All-Stars versus Georgia Pistols Martin. Already underway, Georgia Pistols with the ball. Schulte looking inside there for Victoria Harris. Unfortunately, it's over her outstretched arm. I'm Marcus Burnett again. He's J.L. Hemingway. I've got the iced coffee. You've got the warm version. It's 9 a.m. here at the PSB preseason shootout. How you feeling, Hemi?
Feeling great. It was a long day yesterday, Marcus, but ready to get going here today.
Carolina All-Stars with the ball. Salida Green is going to get it up top. Mid-range jumper. That one's no good by number 24, Shantae Totten. Here's Green the other way. Looking inside for Jones. Pistols defense has other ideas. Here's Asia Durr with the ball, number 25. Hemi, for those that may be new to the Prospects Nation TV webcast, give them a summary of why they'll want to keep their eyes on number 25 here in the Pistols black.
Asia Durr, an Atlanta native, goes to St. Pius High School, currently ranked as the top player in the nation in the class of 2015, has yet to make her college choice, has several suitors and a number of offers from all over the country, anywhere from South Carolina to Tennessee to the University of Connecticut even. She's a dynamic player. You'll see her handle the point guard responsibilities at times, but it's her scoring ability that really sets her apart as the best shooting guard in the nation.
As the ball is going to be last touched by Georgia Pistols Martin. Carolina All-Stars will inbound the ball. Kelsey Mahoney gets it up top to Totten. While this Georgia Pistols team has no shortage of talent, you'll see a Carolina All-Stars opponent that's solid as well. Give us an overview of some of the key pieces for Coach Norwood's team.
Carolina All-Stars, very talented squad. It's going to start with the big girl in the middle, number 51 in white. That's Monet Jones. She's an elite 60 prospect in the class of 2015 as well. Again, a number of different colleges have been in to see her, offers on the table, ranging from, several ACC and SEC schools. You can check all of that out on ProspectsNation.com. But also, keep an eye on, you've mentioned Salida Green, they're number 42 in white. She's a power forward that does a great job of rebounding, and you can see her stepping out into the perimeter and handling a little bit. But also, underneath there, as the ball goes out of bounds, number 13, Kelsey Mahoney, has already given her verbal pledge to George Washington University. She's one of those, what we would call a face-up four player. She's got range to the arc, but at the same time, she can handle and do some things inside. So a very versatile squad for Coach Norwood. And they're going to be able to match up pretty well on the interior when you look at the likes of Vicki Harris, Ayanna Mitchell. We'll talk about the Pistols more a little bit here. I think it's going to be guard play that's ultimately going to determine the outcome of this game. We've talked about Durr being very talented. How well are the Carolina All-Stars going to be able to match up and really to negate that advantage moving forward here today? That could ultimately be the difference between a win and a loss.
Coach Norwood and his Carolina All-Stars break from that timeout. Tierka Eason with the ball. Eason out of Lovett here in the Atlanta area. Loses the handle temporarily, but she's going to get it over to Durr. Durr with the crossover. Going to kick it out to Schulte. Looks inside for Harris. Harris able to grab it in traffic. Durr's going to be fouled.
Well, we've got our coffee here, Marcus. It appears that some of the players need a little bit of coffee or a little shot of energy to get themselves going here. We're well 3 minutes into this game and no points up on the board, but that's sure to change right here as Durr goes to the line. You know, we mentioned Durr in the backcourt. Let's talk a little bit more about, you mentioned Tierra Eason, number 22 in black as well. She's, you mentioned she goes to Lovett High School, you know, very prestigious academic school. And she's got a number of Ivy Leagues, you know, looking at her. And she's a talented kid as well, too. And she's been very well recruited over the years. And a good job here of the All-Stars breaking that press and Green with the finish. But Eason is a good athlete. You see her bringing up the ball right here, kind of versatile, can defend, slash, you know, in transition. And they're joined by Meredith Schulte, number 12, also in black, as, you know, that spot-up kid, but, you know, good size, you know, provides, you know, size and length to the perimeter position. You know, she's going to be a kid that's going to get some looks over the years as well, too.
As Durr knocks down that 3 ball. The legs continuing to get looser here for both teams. We got a 5-2 ball game. Just over 12 minutes left to play here in the first half. Totten with the ball. Up top to Jones. Jones is looking at Coach Norwood for the call. Meanwhile, Victoria Harris takes the cookies. She misses, but her teammate, number 24, Ayanna Mitchell will not miss.
Yeah, great job there by Vicki Harris. We've seen the development of Harris over the years, you know, as a big, agile post player. As Salita Green right there showing her range out to the arc. But finishing that thought on Harris, you know, she's an interior presence, but we've seen many times, Marcus, she loves to run the court. She does a great job of using her hands right there to lead the break. We'll talk a little bit more about Ayanna Mitchell, but she's also an elite 60 prospect in the 2015 class as well, as ranked by Prospects Nation.
Green a little bit too strong on that shot. Comes dirty the other way. Gets it to Eason. Nice defense by Totten. Ball's loose. Mahoney goes to the deck to get it. We're going to have a jump ball.
Good hustle right there by Mahoney getting on the floor. You can see the length of Jones inside, you know, is already, you know, altered and disrupted, you know, a couple of shots. She got her hand on Harris's shot, you know, the time before, even though Mitchell was able to clean it up right there. And that's why I think that it's going to be a really good matchup for the All-Stars, you know, on the inside. When you talk about the likes of Jones and Mahoney and even Green. And checking into the lineup here for the All-Stars, another talented forward, kind of a wing forward, number 5, Jade Phillips, out of Southeast Raleigh High School in North Carolina.
Another substitution for Pistols Martin as well, number 13, Raven Johnson checking into the game. But back to your point about the Carolina All-Stars, as Phillips checks in, definitely got a nice amount of depth in their game to really start the preseason shootout off last night. They didn't even start their 5 starters. They had, but other than Mahoney, with the exception of Mahoney, they started 4 of their bench players, and it's nice to be able to have some of those interchangeable parts that Coach Norwood does.
Yeah, you're right, Marcus. Coach Norwood can go deep into his bench, and we haven't even seen the likes yet of Carly Litton or even Taylor Petty. Yeah. Both of those kids, very skilled kids that can come in and give valuable minutes. Should be able to hit, big shots here today. And a nice looking stroke by Jones there at the free throw line. And that's what we like about Jones, as kind of that 4 player. You saw the up and under, the footwork there, in the pivot. But she can also face up too. She's got range to 18 feet. And by the time she gets to the college level, she's going to be a kid that can, play inside, outside, kind of be that trail 4 position. You can pair her up with another post player. And she's definitely going to be that good, versatile piece for a college program.
You see a rare turnover there by Durr. Phillips coming the other way, going to kick it to Mahoney. Phillips with the mid-range J, no good. Trying to weave through traffic right there. Is Raven Johnson is going to be out of bounds. And they're going to say last touch to by the All-Star, so we'll stay with the Pistols.
And you can see early on here, Marcus, what the Pistols want to do. They want to play that up-tempo style of game, and they've got the advantage, when you look at the guards of Eason, Durr, and now Raven Johnson, another talented 2016 wing that has just checked in. They definitely have the advantage in the backcourt, so they're going to want to play fast. And a nice dump off there by Johnson in the interior to number 31. That's going to be India Jones out of Brookwood High School, 2017 prospect. If Carolina wants to win this game, I think that they'll be very vigilant about making it a half-court game, kind of grind it out, be able to use their length inside and get to the foul line, get some of the Pistols' big players, in foul trouble if they're going to want to be competitive here.
It's going to be a double dribble called on number 25, Essence Abrams, as Victoria Harris checks back into the game for the Georgia Pistols. 7-9 ball game here.
And we see yet another guard checking in for the Pistols. Talk about guard depth. That's number 3 over on the left wing, Madison Newby, that has checked in. Newby out of Archer High School. She takes the drive right here, goes into the lane, can't get that to finish. Already committed to Georgia State as a prep. Helped lead her team to state runner-up this past year. So the Pistols just keep coming with depth off the bench. When you got the likes of a quality prospect like Newby coming in off the bench, you know that you're up against quite a tall challenge when you look at the likes of Durr, Eason, Johnson, Newby, Schulte. That's a lot of perimeter power right there.
Yeah, which gives us a great matchup. We appreciate you all joining us here on Prospects Nation TV. You've got two teams with solid starters as well as some good pieces that form depth off the bench. It should make for a very good opening matchup here on day 2 of the PSB preseason shootout. Foul on that shot attempt, 0-0. Carly Litton, one of the players that you talked about just 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, Litton doing a good job of getting out there on the break, spotting up on the wing, and draws a foul there by Harris. And I think that's going to be key right there. If they can continue to draw a ticky-tack foul here or there on Harris, make her go to the bench, especially by the second part of this first half, make her go to the bench with 3 fouls. And maybe they can exploit, that size advantage in the interior.
So we're squared away at 9. Durr with the ball up top. Kicks it over to Johnson.
Good cover down defense right there by Abrams. That's one thing that you always talk about, in your man-to-man defense when there's baseline penetration. You got to cover down to the outside, and Jade Phillips answering with a 3 of her own to put the All-Stars up 12-9.
She connects on that 3. I've just liked her energy off the bench so far. Even the couple shots she missed, they were in rhythm. Definitely got some pep in her step off the bench here for the All-Stars.
Yeah, good floater there by Durr. But Phillips was definitely one of the stock risers coming out of the 2013 years. You see the nice dish there to Green. A lot of college coaches, were asking, Coach Norwood and, myself about this kid. You've got to like her length, her athleticism, and as you said, her energy. She's very good in the open court. And if she can ever get, that consistent jumper, and you saw it, already here today, she's going to be a very legitimate college prospect at the next level because of all of those qualities.
They inbounded to Harris. Durr. Looked like a potential 3-point play there. Front end won't go, but she'll go to the line to shoot 2.
Yeah, nice little flex action coming out of that baseline out of bounds. They put Durr in the corner and they stepped the inbounder in and set a screen for Durr. And in that situation, if you're a defender guarding the screener, you've got to step over and help and take away, the best player in the nation, cutting off of that screen. And they don't, and they have to foul her, and she converts 1 out of 2.
And she's going to get a breather after that trip to the free throw line. Coming in her place, number 14, Kiera Henry. So we'll see if the All-Stars can take advantage of this stretch with Durr on the bench. We're squared away at 12, 6:53 left to play here in the first half.
Good move there by Green.
Yeah.
And Phillips right there to clean it up. Lots of good action right there. You saw Litton recognize the hard hedge there by Harris, dumps it off to Green. Green makes a nice move, can't get to finish, and Phillips cleans it up. Good basketball right there, Marcus.
That good basketball makes it a 2-point advantage for the All-Stars. They lose the ball after the rebound, and it's going to be last touch by Green, who prevented a layup there.
Yeah, I really like the energy that I'm seeing out of the All-Stars. You know, just those little plays of getting your hand on the ball, you know, keeping the play alive. You know, even if it's a deflection out of bounds to break up a, you know, a potential layup. It's just those little things like that that can keep you on top for a period of time.
They knocked that last ball out of bounds off of the leg of Carly Litton.
Good screen and roll right there by Jones.
Pistols inbound players are getting them the shots that they want.
Yeah, they set the back screen there for Harris, and they overhelped on Harris, and Jones did a good job of making that second cut right back to the rim.
Taylor Petty doing what she does as she comes in and doesn't take very long to get her first tray ball of the game.
Yeah, sometimes these players make me look smart. You know, I predicted that Litton and and Petty could make shots, and they've come right in and done that right off the bat here.
Instant offense. We see the mid-range being worked there by Phillips.
Big half by Phillips. Couple of jumpers and some rebounds. He's having a great half, Marcus.
The All-Stars continue to crank this pressure up, and again, we talked about what would be the implications of Asia Durr going to the bench for a little bit, as we see that rest about to come to a close as she walks over to the scorer's table. 5-point advantage for the All-Stars. Salita Green doing her best to add to it.
Tough right there, tough right there. Good move right there by Newby. And that's what she likes to do. She likes to weave in and out of traffic, and she can navigate around those big bodies, and she always finds ways to finish at the rim. Good finish there by Newby.
Huge reason why that Archer High School team was able to go as deep as it was into the Georgia High School state finals here this year. Rebound by Johnson.
Ooh.
Nice razzle-dazzle, even though she couldn't get the outcome that she wanted. Still a good move. But here's Litton for three.
Carly Litton out of Floyd County in Virginia. Big shot right there. And as we talked about at the beginning of this broadcast, Marcus, we talked about the advantage on the interior being the Carolina All-Stars. You know, even though the Pistols have, you know, the likes of Vicki Harris and Ayanna Mitchell, you've seen Mitchell go to the bench for a long stretch of time here. And we said that the advantage was in the backcourt for the Pistols. And we said, well, how can the All-Stars negate that advantage?
Yeah.
And we've seen it here with several long jumpers. It's actually the All-Stars taking advantage of the three-point jumper with Litton, and even Phillips getting in on the action with a couple of jumpers herself. And that's why you see a 6-point lead here with about 4 minutes to go in the half.
So momentum definitely in the favor of the Carolina All-Stars right here at the present time. I'm sure Coach Lanny Martin using that timeout to not only get Asia Durr back into the game, but kind of reverse this trend a little bit with 4 minutes, 7 seconds left to play here in the first half. So they're going to have Newby run a little bit of point, have Durr off the ball.
Good defense right there by the All-Stars, not jumping on that dribble penetration off the dribble drive, staying locked into Durr.
Nice pass by Newby. Ayanna Mitchell getting the contact, going to the charity stripe.
Mitchell is an intriguing prospect, and quite honestly in this game, she might end up being the difference for the Pistols. You talk about a versatile four player. We've talked about, you know, Monet Jones already. Mitchell is another one of those kind of in-out forward types that is very productive, you know, on the interior. You know, you see her, you know, posting up inside. She can get rebounds. But now you look at her right here, And guess what? She's playing on the top of, on top of the press. She's that athletic, that mobile. It's rare to find a kid with that type of size and athleticism. And with that, Mitchell and her teammates force a timeout from the All-Stars.
Good defense right there. We talked about things that can kind of change the energy of this game a little bit. We saw Carolina All-Stars coming out, not that the effort wasn't there for the Pistols, but definitely more rhythm and flow on both ends of the floor for the All-Stars early on. The Pistols looking to reverse that trend a little bit with that full court pressure. And it'll be interesting to see if you're the Pistols, while you've got players like Petty and Litton that can knock down that outside jumper, you pressure them and kind of make them respond to the speed of your guards and the length of players like Mitchell.
Right.
See what you can do.
Very good point. Boy, Litton not shy, is she?
Not at all. Henry takes the contact. I think that was a good no call there by the official.
Yeah, those are always very controversial.
Yeah.
Because the driver is initiating the contact, and if the defender goes straight up, which is what our officials, saw right there, it's hard to give the advantage to the offensive player.
Nice job by Eason to keep that ball in bounds. Gets it to Newby, who leaves it just short. Mitchell in there working inside. Should get a trip to the line. The All-Stars don't agree with the call. Both Mahoney and Jones giving the official, I went straight up look.
Well, I thought the Jones did get all ball, but unfortunately for Jones, her hand was not straight up. It break the plane of verticality, as the officials always like to say. And she draws the foul right there.
Second free throw splash by Mitchell, 19-22 ball game. 2 minutes, 46 seconds and counting, as you can see. Jones with it, guarded by Mitchell. Puts it on the deck. And looks like we're going to have a foul against. Couldn't see whether he signaled that against Newby or Mitchell. I was signaled against Ayanna Mitchell. And that is going to send Monet Jones to the free throw line.
You love to see big kids that can shoot the ball with touch, and more importantly, make free throws. How many times do we watch an NBA game and it immediately becomes Hack-a-Shaq or Hack-a-Dwight Howard?
Yeah.
We've got to appreciate these big kids like Monet Jones, Ayanna Mitchell, that do shoot such a high percentage.
Most definitely. Not to mention she created that free throw opportunity from putting the ball on the floor. Right back at you, we see Mitchell get to the rack, unable to finish though.
Whoa.
Petty loses the balance on that drive.
Yeah, a little too much there by Petty. And that's where she's got to learn the pace of the game right there. She gets it. She thought she had to look at the three, shot fake, put it on the floor. Boy, if you don't have a one dribble pull-up right there, you're going into the likes of Ayanna Mitchell and some of these other athletes. Might just want a little back dribble and reverse it right there. But now that's what these early season games are for, so you can learn your limitations and correct those mistakes before the April weekend.
Nice second efforts on the offensive glass there. Eason misses, but Ayanna Mitchell follows up. 24-21 ball game. Here come the All-Stars. They get it over to Litton. Litton off the mark on that three-pointer. Newby, nice pass ahead to Eason.
And now you see what the Pistols are really good at. They're going to try to force the All-Stars into speeding up, take a couple of bad shots and then get out. Those long rebounds lead to fast break opportunities, and that's where the Pistols thrive at. And you saw Coach Norwood over there, and he was saying, hey, just hang on, slow down a little bit. And for these shooters, they've had some success. You know, you talk about Litton and Petty and even Jade Phillips hitting some threes. They've had some success, but no reason to force it. That last three was off the dribble, hand in the face. And it's going to be those type of shots that actually lead to fast break opportunities, and that's a quick way to get yourself beat.
Back into the game is Shantae Totten, as well as Jasmine Norwood. Salida Green back in as well. Mahoney wrestles that one away. Misses the shot. Her save attempt is saved right to Schulte over to Durr. The floater just short. Durr spins. Crowd wants a foul. None's called, and Salida Green wrestles that one away, gets it over to Totten. Totten might need a lifeline here. She says no crossover. She said that's why you commentate while I play. Unfortunately, she turns it over. Here comes Mitchell. And one.
Talk about momentum right here, Marcus. See how the tide has really changed right here. And it was a good crossover move, but the length, the athleticism, the speed of the Pistols actually turned that into a turnover and a conversion on the other end.
Yeah, not to mention Durr really making her work to even get it across the timeline there. Todd might have a chance at a fast break layup here. She's going to be fouled by Eason.
You know, that is something that young kids have to learn sometimes. There's no reason to foul right there. You know, Totten she was out to drive. She was out to drive. You know, she had driven in, you know, had the defender on the shoulder. She was going to have to make just some miraculous shot.
Yeah.
If you just go straight up or not even jump hardly, she's going to miss that shot. More than likely your teammates are going to get the rebound and, you know, turn it into a fast break opportunity the other way. But instead, you foul her and you just bail her out, essentially.
Agreed. And you can see Coach Martin essentially echoed that same sentiment over there on the sidelines to Eason. Just a 1-point advantage for the All-Stars into the game for Coach Norwood's squad, number 15, Yakima Clifton. Newbie has it. She's got about 3 or 4 seconds to work with. She's going to get a trip to the line.
Newbie has definitely been a difference maker, in my opinion, in this first half. She's provided the spark, the energy, the offensive penetration that the Pistols have needed to create a little bit of space for kids like Durr, Mitchell, and Harris.
Harris checks back into the game. She's number 40. They're in the dark jerseys for the Pistols. Also into the game, number 31, Dea Jones. Speaking of Jones.
Yeah, great rebound right there, Marcus. You know, India Jones, a young kid, 2017 prospect, just getting onto the scene, you know, with the big-time prospects. And we had made a big deal about, you know, how the All-Stars had the advantage inside. Now, they don't use their advantage right there, and they allow the post player from the Pistols to come up with that offensive rebound and take a 2-point lead going into halftime. And that's big. That's huge. You know, when you consider the entire half, the All-Stars had led this game. The Pistols were able to change the momentum and then put themselves in a position to go in at half with just a couple of seconds left.
So we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll bring you the second half of this one live from the PSB preseason shootout.
that on the broadcast when y'all do that. Oh, really? Just film it, huh? I hear that, brother.
Well about the referees now.
Always. We always got your back. We always say things like, well, I saw it one way, but our trained professional referees definitely had it under control.
All right, welcome back to the PSB preseason shootout. I'm Marcus Burnett, joined by JL Hemingway, and we've got Brandon Clay here to join us for the second half of this Georgia Pistols versus Carolina All-Stars matchup. Brandon, your thoughts on the game so far?
It's been great. I mean, obviously the score indicates that, but I think more so than anything, you're seeing both of these teams get tested here early this summer. I think, Salita Green makes a great play there to save a possession and get the ball back. She's been a kid that, and I'm sure as the broadcast has gone on, you all have mentioned her, but she made a great rip through there in the first half. Caught it, faced up, ripped it to get to the basket, missed it, and then got her own offensive rebound. And you're just seeing some of the things that we've talked about with a kid like that for so long now coming to fruition on the biggest of stages. She now is in the hot class, per se, and is doing the same things that have made her so effective for so long, and then continuing to try to add to her game as you see her take that jumper.
Well, Brandon, she actually hit a three from the corner in the first half, but I totally agree with what you're saying on Green. I just like her energy. Yep. She seems to be really dialed in, getting her hands on loose balls and defensive deflections and everything.
Well, and one of the things, it's interesting in the conversations that, I've had with various coaches about her and things like that. And I think Ariel Howard from Westlake is another kid like that plays with the Douglasville Lady Tigers. It's hard to put a value on production. Maybe a kid is not 6'2", 6'3" at the 4 spot, but they're able to consistently be productive. And I think Kelsey Mahoney also fits this bill. It's hard to put a value on what that means in the long term.
Eason's going to stop and pop. Gets hit the drop, does the love it attendee, and it's a 26-32 ball game, 6-point advantage for the Pistols.
Boy, if she can show that that's going to be a new part of her game, that really takes her game to another level, because that's a piece that, we've wanted to see from her as we talk about growth and development, is the willingness to be more of a scorer. Knowing that she had it in her, you're going to see a kid here who loves to score, and Raven Johnson. But, for Eason now, being able to show with a team full of quality players that she can put the ball in the basket, and if she can do that, I think the sky is the limit for her this summer.
When you have a player like a Asia Durr, how tough is it for pieces and players like Eason to make sure they do what they do, stay aggressive and do different things? When you have a player that you want to make sure you're not enamored with, you really do a good job of complimenting.
I think Durr does a great job of keeping people involved. You don't see her take a lot of forced shots. There are some times where offenses get run, and it's funny because I think the Knicks are a good example of this, where the offense gets run through Carmelo Anthony, but there's a lot of ISO clear-out stuff on the second side of the action. So at the 12-second mark on the shot clock, you're just watching Carmelo play. They don't really do that for Asia. So it keeps those other kids engaged and involved in the game. You saw Eason there. She hit that 10-footer in the break. Raven Johnson attacks right off of the break. So these kids don't feel like the ball has got to touch Asia's hands, but obviously if it does, she's capable of making a play.
Henry, you said Ayanna Mitchell will be very important in this game. We see her get her first trip to the free throw line here in the second half.
Yeah, without a doubt. Mitchell and Harris, at least early on here, have been pretty big on both ends, especially the defensive end. We saw the block by Harris on Jones early on. And now if Mitchell can really start scoring, in the block and now flip it, start getting, Jones and Green in foul trouble, it's going to be a long morning for the All-Stars.
Well, one of the things the All-Stars have got to be able to do, I think you touched on it right there from a pistol standpoint, and a nice interior pass, make sure we mention that from Jones to get Mitchell that look there. The All-Stars have got to find a way to score the basketball. Obviously Monet Jones is a primary piece, but the Pistols are doing a good job, and they've got the matchups to make it tough for her, so some other people are going to have to make some shots, whether it's Lighton, whether it's Mahoney, and then you get an open floor basket there in transition. They've got to find a way to manufacture some points and be able to make this game easy for themselves. I really like what Essence Abrams brings. Brian Norwood was talking about adding her back to his roster during the course of the offseason. This is the first chance that I'm getting to see her play and really liked her game. Speedy, and you see her attack.
Speaking of attack, you see number 13, Raven Johnson.
That's what she does, man. I told y'all a minute ago she likes to score now. She wants to get to that rim and is more than willing to attack and make some plays. Watched her several times last year. Really enjoyed her game. Different scene for her here this year, but same result so far.
Another representative of Gwinnett County basketball, attending Parkview High School there in Lilburn.
This is a really important 3-minute stretch, even 4 down to the 8-minute mark here for the All-Stars. They've got to keep this thing inside of about 6 to 8 to keep it in striking distance, man. If they're playing from behind 12, 13 points at the 8-minute mark, it's going to be a tough way to come back and get this win.
Well, they really, the All-Stars that is, had this game exactly where they wanted it through about 12 minutes of the first half. They had kept the tempo, you know, in check. They had made it a half-court game. They weren't turning the ball over, and they got some 3-point shots to fall. You know, you mentioned Lighton hit a couple of shots. Jade Phillips even hit a couple of jumpers. But then the Pistols really flipped it on them, forcing the All-Stars to take, you know, quick jumpers, get the long rebounds, and then turn that into transition. And quite honestly, the All-Stars can't play that transition game with the Pistols.
No question. And Phillips and Mahoney will check back in, you know, 2 of the kids that I just mentioned. You know, and they've got to step up right now, and so does Jones. You know, you've got to find ways to manufacture points, bucket here, bucket there, and Jones is going to get a little breather here. So Phillips and Mahoney, the charge is kind of on them right now to find a way to steal a couple of quick buckets and get a couple of stops on the other end.
And what do you see as a pivotal piece for the All-Stars to be able to do that? You know, when you look at a Pistols, you've got a Durr and an Eason and a newbie that can penetrate and create. For the All-Stars, outside of that advantage in the interior, who's going to be that disruptor or that penetrator on their side?
Well, Jay Phillips has the ability to put it on the floor. But quite honestly, I like the mismatch opportunities that a kid like Salita Green or even Kelsey Mahoney can have. And a good shot there by Phillips. And then that's what we're talking about. They're going to have to, you know, find, you know, opportunities like that. But I like the mismatch opportunities, you know, from the 3-4 spot that Green and Mahoney can present, whether that's going inside or even facing Monet Jones up, you know, from the elbow area. That's where they've had success in the past.
Well, I thought the last possession, a good rebound down there inside, but I thought the last possession really was exactly what you were talking about there, John. Phillips is a tough matchup, but then so is Mahoney. You can drag her out, you can face her. So a different kind of matchup, Marcus, in terms of where you're going to find your advantage. But those are the types of shots that they're going to get, that 3 right there and the 3 that Phillips got. And they've just got to convert on those looks. They've got to convert on those face-up opportunities where they're dragging the Pistols, Biggs, Jones, Harris, Mitchell, and making them play 20 feet from the basket. They've just got to find a way to convert. And they're going to need Abrams to do a little more. She got that layup there in transition. I think that's a kid that when she gets back in the game is going to have an opportunity, too, to score and be a disruptor, per se.
That's a good look for Taylor Petty.
Great shot there. We actually had an opportunity to do a video evaluation back in the fall time. Chris Watkins and I did, our video coordinator, and that's one thing that she does really well, and so does Lighton, is the ability with their feet set to knock down jumpers. She had a great high school season for Dorman. Great play there by Totten. And there, here we go. You know, easy layup, open shot. So those things we talked about, they're not going to be able to pound it on the interior the way that the Pistols have with direct post feeds. They've got to score in another way.
Here's Newby. Gets it out to Schulte. Ball's going to be out of bounds. Last touch by Clifton.
And let's go back to that 3-point shot, Brandon, by Petty. Notice that was all set up by Abrams' penetration. She got to the heart of the defense, kicked it to Mahoney. Mahoney kicks it out, and it's an easy shot. So a lot of times in the game of basketball, it's not going to be the direct drive that leads directly to the shot. It's going to be the second or the third action. Good steal there by Schulte.
Good pass ahead. You know how that one finishes. Good play there by Durr to finish that in the open floor. Well, the All-Stars now have made that run. You know, we talked about them wanting to be within, 6 to 9 there at the 8-minute mark, and they put themselves down 6 with the basketball. An opportunity to strike here and cut it to 4.
Mahoney starts at the elbow, ends up at the rack.
There it is. They're
line.
facing. You've got to make those Pistols defenders guard you for 17 to 20 feet. Great entry there from Phillips to Mahoney. She catches, faces, rips the way she's supposed to, takes the contact. Now she's got to put these free throws in.
Real interesting, this Carolina All-Stars team. You know, I mentioned the advantage that they had on the interior along the front line, but really their advantage, as you've been pointing out, Brandon, is their ability to be versatile. You know, to face up, like you say, to drag them out, put it on the floor. Big misses right there by Mahoney, unfortunately.
Well, when you're playing a team like the Pistols and some of the other games that we have broadcast today, you know, free throws and chip shots, man. You know, you've got to be able to convert more times than not on those types of plays to keep yourself in the game and honestly be able to come out with the W.
Newbie right at Mahoney.
There. She gets, it almost worked back out. That was a great play, right where she was supposed to be in terms of Mahoney. Nice dribble drive there by Newbie, and the ball kind of fell her way to get it back and get to the free throw line.
Fellas, summarize Newbie's implication for Durr as far as her being able to be there. And, you know, you talked about Durr's scoring ability, Henny. You may see her run the point a lot, but she does a lot off the ball. Talk about Newbie's role in helping her do some of those things.
You know, when Brandon was, you know, talking about Eason and some of these other kids, you know, playing opposite of Durr, I believe that when you play against or play with a marquee player like Asia Durr, Taya Cooper, the game becomes easier for you.
Yep.
You have more space. So Madison Newby is going to have more space to penetrate. It's really just, in many ways, going to highlight what she already does well, and we're seeing that here today.
Teddy to Mahoney. Shalita Green, number 42, just set the screen. She's back into the game.
It's great. I was just about to say, I love the open flow. You see Coach Norwood now has really gone to a 5-around with this group. Green makes the nice swing and immediately sets the ball screen. So now you're forcing two post players. Are we going to hedge? Are we going to, the post player chooses to go under him with Kelsey Mahoney. That's a no-no.
Schulte, I believe that's her first shot of the game. It's off.
Ayanna Mitchell, one of the premier rebounders in the class of 2015, Brandon.
She is. Was rebounded well from a knee injury a couple of years ago. Really starting to hit her stride here. You know, not only this weekend, but just in general, getting back to that pre-injury form. Like you said, the activity, the rebounding, a lot of what I expect from Erica Cassell as the summer goes on in the class behind her.
6-point advantage now for the Pistols.
There's the three. Oh, she didn't catch it clean. That thing was about to come out, though. I like this action that they're running. Getting them some good looks. They've knocked down some shots. That was going to be another one there, but she just didn't get a handle on a pass to the load out of the pocket.
And you got to give credit to Mitchell, quite honestly, for the anticipation to take away that three. Lesser defender and Mahoney would have gotten that three off, and now she gets an opportunity, but doesn't convert that one.
It's interesting. Mahoney's one of those kids, you talk about sitting in the broadcast booth feeling like you're coaching both teams. That's a kid that anytime she's able to get a shot off, you feel like it's going to go in. You know, so you're almost disappointed, even from a broadcast booth standpoint. Oh, good move there in the open floor, just doesn't fall for Schulte. But you're almost disappointed when it doesn't fall for Mahoney, because every time she shoots it and has her feet set, it looks like it's going in.
Back into the game for the Pistols, number 40 in the dark jersey, Victoria Harris.
Speaking of marquee players, Brandon, we got a couple of marquee players down there along the baseline. A couple of kids that have played in several PSB events.
Andrea Carter and Kayla Davis, always nice to have them home. Both of them in their air quote freshman years. Carter's a redshirt freshman, had a great year with Tennessee, leading in the SEC tournament title, and then Davis with a big-time year for Georgia Tech, getting them back to the tournament. Expecting big things from them the next year as sophomores. Huh? Oh, great pass.
Big things from Mitchell right there. She gets the assist and the finish by Henry.
Now, she's been key. You know, it was a three-point game. She comes in with the layup, makes the free throw, now makes another play. Oh, good steal there in the open floor, because that very well could have gone from 8 to 10. Good call. Good call.
Petty goes inside. Block was clean, but got her with the body. That's going to send the sharpshooter to the free throw line to shoot two.
They need both of these. At this point now, you're under that 7-minute mark. You can't leave points on the table.
Substitutions on the pistol side of things. Number 13, Raven Johnson checks back in. Number 22, Tierica Eason. And number 25, Asia Durr, back into the game.
Nice shot.
So Petty's second free throw makes it a 7-point ball game. Advantage Pistols here, 6:42 and counting.
But one of the reasons I like the club season so much, honestly, is that you're seeing kids play in different roles even than they do in their high school. You know, you watch Durr, you know, who was a primary scorer for St. Pius, and obviously is a primary scorer here, but in a more facilitating role at times because she's got multiple Division I kids on this team helping out. You know, same thing with a Monet Jones or even a Mahoney and a Green. You're just seeing kids play in different roles and have to try to change on the fly even inside of the game based on lineup combinations that are out there the same way they will at the collegiate level.
Petty's going to get it over to Jones. Spin move. Going to get called for the travel. Nice defense there by Harris.
When we talk about predetermined reads, I think Jones, that was a predetermined read there. You know, she had already decided what she was going to do before she caught the ball, as opposed to catching it, letting the play out, maybe even using a jab there at 18 to see if Harris gave her any space. She caught it and immediately knew what she wanted to do with it, and Harris took it away.
That shot's off by Durr. Rebound by Totten.
I like Totten a lot. She was at EBA top 40, just solid. Steady and know what you're going to get in terms of her being willing to distribute, being willing to defend, and doesn't need a lot of shots to be effective. There's that jab I talked about. So that time, instead of the predetermined read, you see her jab it and really make a read based off what the defender was giving her.
Nice positioning there and rebounding by Mitchell. See why you called her one of the best rebounders in the state, Hemi.
Hey, Jonathan Hemingway's pretty good at this, people.
Hey, not just in the state, Marcus, in the nation. You know, currently I think we have her probably in the top 25 nationally, if not in the top 25, right around that. She's been on our radar for several years, had a great season for Salem High School this year in the state of Georgia, and that's why you see many NCAA, you know, tournament caliber, you know, teams that are coming out to watch her consistently.
The crossover by Todd, and she loses it.
And the thing about Mitchell, when you start to talk about draft board value, if you need a kid that can rebound in the basketball and play at the forward position for you, she can finish it. She's in a position where she can finish with either hand, take a bump. You know, you've got to look at her and think that you're going to be able to add that 15 to 17 footer in year one, maybe even stretch her out to be able to shoot that trail secondary break three by the end of her sophomore year. There's still so much room for growth there that you've got to take a look at her game if you see her on the draft board.
And
like that work by Dirk. Go ahead, Henry.
And she's a versatile piece, quite honestly. You know, she's a forward player, but I think that she will end up being able to defend, you know, a wing position, a bigger wing. And if you want to play small ball, so to speak, to put it in NBA terms, you can put her at the 5 and she's still going to be effective in that way.
It's interesting. Her game is very similar. You talk about the NBA to Udonis Haslem, what he has become. You know, you'd love to be able to see her shoot that 17-foot jumper, you know, the way that Haslam does, to be able to stretch the defense. But a quality rebounder, defender, finisher, and once again, a kid that doesn't need a lot of primary offensive touches to be really effective inside of the game.
8-point advantage for the Georgia Pistols. 4 minutes, 19 seconds left. Still some time left, but definitely a sense of urgency for the All-Stars.
Good kick.
Just off the back of the rim. Here's Phillips.
Tough.
Nowhere to go along the baseline as Harris cuts that off.
You know, there's something that needs to be said, quite honestly, with the defensive presence of Harris and Mitchell along that front line. Has really neutralized the likes of Monet Jones and the other forwards for the Carolina All-Stars. Have done just a terrific job here today.
No question. Good pull up there by Doe off of the inbounds. You know what's interesting about this and it's a skill set discussion much more than a potential production discussion, is when you have those matchups on that front line. We talked about the counter, Marcus, and I think when you're watching the game at home, you always want to talk about the guards and the guard counters. Well, how do you then counter the front line? Well, I think what they had with Green and Mahoney was allowing them there for a minute to make a run and counter what the Pistols brought, because they had two kids in the post position that could step out and stretch you and make life difficult for the other team. You know, now you don't have that when those two are not in the game.
Great point.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say you and Hemingway know a little bit about this game, and I think that's a pretty.
Hey, if we don't, we try to do a really good job taking it. Maybe one of y'all out there will believe us, man. Make sure to follow me, Brandon Clay PSB, man.
We got Essence Abrams with it. She's back into the game. Her and her team facing a 10-point deficit.
I like Abrams. She's so new to the pack. She didn't even have her name on the jersey yet. And there's Jones. Once again, we talked about them having to stretch the Pistols defenders out to make an impact in the post, and they're able to do that right there and draw the foul. But if that's not going to be the case, they're going to have a difficult time being able to come back and get this win here, Marcus. They've got to find a different way to get points.
Yeah.
And in comes Mahoney. I think Brian Norwood's got this game in the headset right now.
Kelsey Mahoney, number 13 in the white jersey, checks in. You also want to keep your eyes on Jade Phillips. Good things have happened when she's come off the bench as well, and they've only got 3 minutes, 38 seconds to work with to try to close this 8-point gap.
Those are good shots there by Jones. You saw the form and the mechanics more than anything. There are not a lot of 4 players in the country that can step to the line and shoot the free throw that well and that consistently with their mechanics. She's done it now in both halves.
Schulte over to Johnson. Pistols taking their time. The clock is on their side.
Good patience right here by the Pistols. Good awareness of time and score. No need for a quick shot. Going 5 out, pass and cut. As soon as I say that, then they drive it and shoot it.
I told you, man, Johnson wants to score the basketball. Oh, nice. Nice little cut there from Mahoney. Great pass. You know, we talked about Abrams and Totten wanting to distribute the basketball. You know, and now you've got Phillips, Jones, Mahoney, and it looks like that'll be the group that they run with unless maybe you see Green check back in. But they've got now 5 kids who all play roles effectively.
Tough shot by Schulte. She's fouled on the play.
And if you're the ref, you've got to make that call.
Yeah.
Good call there. Nice drive there by Schulte. I think if you're Mahoney, obviously in a perfect world, you kind of wall up there with your arm up and make it a tough shot.
Yeah. It's number 24, Ayanna Mitchell, checks back into the game for the Pistols. Victoria Harris has a seat.
Harris has done a great job on the defensive end here today, just being a presence. You know, Monet Jones can easily get 18 and 8, and she's made life tough with the exception of that last foul there on the 18-footer. You know, Jones has been offensively not nearly as much of a factor as you would have predicted coming into the game, and Harris had a lot to do with that.
A lot of room for Kelsey Mahoney there. Three-pointer won't go down.
And if you're Brian Norwood, you live with that shot. I mean, you know that that's the shot that, you know, has got to go in for you guys to get this win. You live with taking that shot. It's one of the reasons why you put it back in the game.
Durr gets it up top to Johnson.
Got to agree with you, Brandon. I really like what we've seen out of Essence Abrams here today, and a tough pull up there by Durr. But Abrams really provides that ball handling, you know, the energy, the defense. You know, she had several cover down, you know, deflections, you know, that we saw in the first half. A nice piece for Coach Norwood, and regardless of how this game turns out, she's going to be a key piece for them heading into the summer.
Agreed. Well, one of the things, you know, you watch Phillips there with that dribble drive, but the next step for a kid like Monet Jones in that progression, late in the game, down 8, about $1:40 left, went to post. She's got to demand that basketball. She was in the right spot, exactly where she needed to be to get the one-on-one coverage. Everybody else was spread because of the shots that they've made. Give me the ball. That's got to be a demand there.
Hey, man, I was about to look for a basketball to feed it to you over there.
I wanted it, man. Now, I don't know that I could have done anything with it once I got it. It might have been an immediate kick out, but I would have forced a double team. That's for darn sure, man.
Most definitely. 1:24 left here in this game. That call for the ball, man, kind of reminded me of Jalil Okafor. You guys have been able to check out several times in person via the OTR Hoops Report as well.
Yeah, I've seen Okafor play a couple times, first up at Hoop Hall and then out at Mater Day Nike Extravaganza. What a player he's going to be next year, you know, for Coach Krzyzewski at Duke University. 6'11", you talk about a 6'11" kid with nimble feet, great hands, soft hands. One of the most overlooked things, quite honestly, with Okafor, his ability to pass.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had the opportunity to watch him down at City of Palms, and he was at USA Basketball as well in Colorado in the fall. Also want to point out, you know, Paul White going to Georgetown off of his team. Some of the same elemental qualities, though different players, in terms of not needing a ton of offensive touches run through him to be really, really productive. So it's been neat this season as we've been on the road, John, to see the parallels between the boys and girls game, have that real national boys report and be able to watch some of those things happen.
Yeah, it's been fun for sure.
As the Pistols trying to make sure this game ends as fun as possible for them. They currently lead by 8.
Hey, they've done a heck of a job up. Here's a transition bucket for the All-Stars.
With the layup drill, Coach Norwood gets another timeout as they only trail by 6, just under a minute left.
Well, not the ideal situation that you would like to be in, obviously down 6 with under a minute to go, but there are worse situations that you could be in.
Could be down 30.
Certainly, and if I'm coaching Norwood right here, I'm talking about a little bit of run and jump, maybe a little zone trap, whatever it is that you like to do. You're going to have to speed them up, and you're going to have to hope for a quick turnover, try to transition that into a quick bucket. You don't have to necessarily go for threes right away, but you're going to have to get something pretty quickly within the next 20 seconds.
Well, I like what you just talked about, whatever it is you like to do. You know, understanding that everybody coaches a little differently. Definitely a CoachHimmy.com-ism there. I really like that. But I think that they've got the link right now, even with Green, Petty over there on the sideline, like you said, to be able to kind of junk it up early and hope to get the ball in, you know, Mitchell's hands. Now, the Pistols have been smart and put themselves in a situation where they've got 4 guards on the floor looking for dirt deep here, it looks like.
Oh! Yeah, and they got the turnover.
That's exactly what they did. Junked it up. They even had a kid ball to the ground. That was part of Coach Norwood's plan. That was awesome.
That was Jay Phillips.
She executed it to perfection.
Not so sure about that, but hey.
Look at this. Oh, look at this.
Wow.
You had to know when Taylor Petty got that right foot around.
Yep.
Hey, that lets you know I've watched way too much video on that kid. She got that right foot around, and you knew, bang, bang.
Yeah, it looked like money off of her hands, and it's a 3-point ball game, 52 seconds left to play in this one.
Hey, as you said, John, not an ideal situation, but it could be much worse, and it just got much better.
It certainly did. You know, they've cut that lead in half now. They're down 3. Notice what they did the previous time. They went man-to-man, full face guard. They actually put a man on the ball, which is basically just selling out, saying, hey, we're going to tempt you to throw it deep. I'm sure that's what Coach Martin and the Pistols are drawing up right now, saying, hey, they face guard us. We're going to set a back screen right here. We're going to leak Asia out. We'll throw it deep. But, hey, with the length that the All-Stars have, by putting that man on the ball, that makes that baseball pass, that home run pass, all the more difficult.
Well, it was interesting there. They had Durr, I thought, on the initial throw out, and this time they're actually going to let Durr bring it in. But they had her on the throw out, just a little hesitation.
Oh, there it is.
Abrams is 6. She had a hand on it.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it to where it needed to go. Still 40 seconds. That's a great transition finish there for the Pistols. Great call out of the timeout by Coach Martin.
5-point advantage. Here's Abrams for 3. No good. Rebound by Newby.
It's interesting. This is something I actually stole from QB Brown this season during the NBA slate. You get inside of a minute. Obviously, Petty had a great look at a 3. Feet rounded off, and that's what she does. But I'm not sure in that situation that you don't want to just put yourself with the first quality basket you can get. You know, you have 42 seconds left. You take about a 25, 26-foot 3 there really wasn't an in-rhythm three the way that Petty's was.
Yeah.
What Hubie talks about that I love so much is get to the basket. Wouldn't get to the basket, take two, get the bucket, and then you're still just down three a single possession. Who knows, you get the stop, you get a foul, an and one. There are a lot of different ways to get 3 points in this game, as opposed to forcing that three, trying to get points on the board. Go ahead and play the possession out, even with a set call, even if it takes another 10 seconds to get a quality look. The emphasis is on getting the quality look, not on the amount of time that it takes to get that look.
I couldn't agree more, Brandon. There's a lot of good things that can happen by taking the ball to the rack in that situation, because obviously the defense doesn't want to foul.
Yep.
So more than likely they're going to open up and allow you to get that quick bucket. And if they do foul you, well, then that's doubly good, because guess what? Now the clock stops. You have an opportunity for, an and one situation. So agree totally.
Eason takes it in. They find Durr again. Always a good move to find Durr. And this will put her on the line here.
And we've got to point out here the timeout call there by Coach Martin and the Pistols, throwing it to the inbounder, stepping from the inbound situation, and then getting the back screen for Durr. Great call right there. All-Stars nearly came up with the steal, but it was the action that ultimately got them the layup.
Looked like the Georgia-Auburn football game, man. Got a hand on it, but not enough to deflect it and knock it out. They still were able to convert on the possession. I'm sorry to all you Bulldog fans out there like myself.
No doubt. Durr was definitely running the fly route on that one, man.
Good free throw there, too. We talked a lot about Jones' free throws earlier, but same thing here as Durr converts, to be able to send kids of that caliber to the line late in the game expecting them to make the free throw. There's nothing about Lanny Martin or anybody in this building that didn't think Asia Durr was going to make those 2 free throws, and she does just that.
Petty has that shot blocked. Mitchell. Easton comes back for it. To Johnson.
What a save. Great play. This has been a heck of a game. Yeah. This is going to end up winning, but this has been a great game that honestly is a lot closer than what the final score reflects in just 50 seconds worth of playing time. Great action, and this is the type of competition that these teams get at an event like the preseason shootout to get ready for the April evaluation weekend.
And just a semifinal game at that. We still got a championship game to play, Brandon.
That's beautiful.
And we got another good semifinal coming up. Don't go anywhere. Stick with us as FBC Modern takes on Team Elite Pointer. Thanks for joining us here on Prospects Nation TV. I'm Marcus Burnett signing off with J.L. Hemingway and Brandon Clay. Any gym is home.